Hello. Welcome along to episode 203 of Adventures in Pop. My name is Simon Jacobs, and it just struck me that we're kind of 2 weeks into 2025 already, but I haven't at any stage really kind of looked back and reviewed, big hits of 2024. I think all the results are in. You've probably seen some of the results yourself in terms of, who had the biggest hits, who had the most downloads and streams. And I've been looking a little bit at what went on in the States, what's gone on here in the UK, to try and make sense, I guess, of some of the trends. And there are a couple of trends, a couple of really interesting trends. One that gets reported on quite a lot, and one that doesn't so much, but I would like to bring to your attention. So we obviously, all of those companies, the UK charts, Billboard in America, they've all given us their top streaming and sales singles of 2024. And I think what we can say without fear of contradiction is really is the first kind of very obvious thing, which is that once again, particularly here in the UK, the women have had a fantastic year. So I'm not just talking about Taylor Swift, or even here in the UK, I'm not just talking about Sabrina Carpenter. There are plenty of others that we need to kind of mention. And some of them have just popped up literally in the last couple of days of having achieved, monumental feats of success. So let me explain a little bit about what I mean. Well, first of all, what is really interesting, if you have a look at the top 20, and I've got in front of me here the top 20 UK biggest songs, they call it, from the official top 40 biggest songs of 2024. Number one, number two are Solo Men. Number one is Stick Season, No Khan, and number two, Beautiful Things, Benson Boone. And then we have the first of several entries from the massive breakthrough success of 2024, who is Sabrina Carpenter. So Espresso, number three, reached number one. And actually, if we just stick with Sabrina Carpenter for a minute, she is number 3 in this chart. She's also number 10 with Please, Please, Please. And she also features at number 21 with Taste. So that's not bad for a kind of, breakthrough year, is it? I think she's probably feeling pretty good about 2024. And similarly in the States, that she pops up in similar kind of positions across the American best-selling singles of 2024. So massive success for Sabrina Carpenter. And in fact, I did read somewhere that in the UK, there had been something like, of the 52 weeks of the year, there was a female star at number one for about 33 of those weeks. And of those 33 weeks, about 20 of them, 21 I think it was Sabrina Carpenter. So it's no mean feat. So she's done incredibly well. Now, carrying on here with the UK top singles, Teddy Swims Lose Control at 4, Hosier, Too Sweet, 5, Shabuzi, Bar Song, 6. And then we've got Billie Eilish at 7, Chapel Roan at 8, Billie Eilish with Birds of a Feather, Chapel Roan with Good Luck Babe. We've got, as I said, Sabrina Carpenter at 10. We've got Taylor Swift. Now, Taylor Swift is all over all of this, but she's not dominating in quite such the same way as she did this time last year. But, she's still part of that big story of female solo stars doing impossibly incredibly well. So Taylor's at 11 with Cruel Summer. Then we've got Beyonce at 14, Texas Hold'em. We've got Sophie Ellis-Bextor. Now, Sophie Ellis-Bextor, this is really interesting because she is the most successful British female artist of last. Well, this song, Murder on the Dance Floor, thanks to the TV, is the most successful song by a British female in the charts last year. And obviously we know that song is about 20-something years old. So well done, Sophie. And obviously she's a local girl. She went to school just round the corner from where I'm sitting right now. So what else? We also have Taylor Swift featuring Post Malone, Fortnight at 19 in this chart. I'm just looking at the women again here. Sabrina Carpenter, we mentioned Taste at 21. Ariana Grande, We Can't Be Friends at 24. Natasha Bedingfield, that very old, another 20 plus year old song, Unwritten. And we've got Chapel Roan, another track from her, Hot to Go at 33. Ella Henderson at 35, Alibi, and even Lady Gaga with Bruno Mars. Okay, that's a man and a woman, isn't it? But Lady Gaga there at 37. We'll mention her again a little bit later. Another Taylor Swift at 38. I can do it with a broken heart. And all in all, that's a lot of women. Similarly, as I say, in the American charts, you'll see a lot of the same tracks by the same people in a slightly different shuffled order, but it's much the same. So the women have done incredibly well again. The most successful male British star is Miles Smith, and he comes up in this chart at about, what number? He's number 12. So one of the things that's interesting to point out is that in the British singles chart, our top 10, in fact our top 11, are all non-British, which is unusual. I think normally we'd expect to have a few Brits in our top 10 of the best singles or top singles of the year. That has not been the case this year. Now, I'm making the point about women being really successful, and part of it is this picture of top singles from 2024, but it is not the whole story, because since then we've had a couple of other things that have popped up in the news that I think just kind of point to the same phenomenon, but even more so. It just gives us more evidence of the same kind of thing going on there. So what do I mean? Let's have a look. There are three things I noticed recently, and they're really interesting. First of all, basically, I'm just building the argument that women have had a sensational few years, not just last year, and that it's not just Taylor Swift, or even just Sabrina Carpenter and Taylor Swift. So one of the things that Spotify mentioned was that their most streamed song across the world in 2024 is by a woman. It's not Taylor Swift or Sabrina Carpenter. Who do you think it could be? Well, I'll tell you. It's Billie Eilish, Birds of a Feather, the most streamed song on Spotify across the globe last year, with 1.78 billion streams. So that's 1,781,000,000 streams. It's quite hard to actually get your head around the number of noughts in that figure. So that's one little piece of evidence. There's another. One female artist, and only one female artist, has passed 14 billion streams of a single album for the first time ever in Spotify's, brief history. Who is that? Okay, it's not Billie Eilish, it's not Taylor Swift, it's not Sabrina Carpenter. Who could that be? Well, it's an album that came out actually in May 2021. It's Sour by Olivia Rodrigo. That's unbelievable, isn't it? So that one album has now passed 14 billion streams, and it is the first time that a female artist has achieved that feat. And it's that's extraordinary. And so well done, Olivia. And her follow-up album obviously is a massive hit as well. And then another piece of evidence came through. I think it's taken a long time, but the single with Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, Die With a Smile, has hit number one in the States, and it makes Lady Gaga only the third artist in history to have a number one hit in 3 different decades. So just think that one through. She kind of made it big in around 2008. So that is, a couple of decades back. If we're talking about decades that go from 2000 to 2010, 2010 to 20, we're now in the third decade of the millennium. And she is only the third artist in history to have a number one hit in 3 different decades. So I know what you're saying. I can hear you asking, who are the other 2 that have achieved that same fate or even better. Well, I'll tell you who they are. And they have achieved exactly the same achievement as Lady Gaga. And they are Michael Jackson and, interestingly, Janet Jackson. Both the Jacksons. Okay, so Lady Gaga is the third. And if you think about it, here we are in 2025. If she manages to land a number one single in about 6 years' time, so the way into the next decade, she'll be out on her own as the only artist ever in history to have a number one hit across 4 different decades. Can you imagine? Lady Gaga, go ahead and do that. Just hold back for a few years, get your best tracks ready, and hit them with it in 2031. That'd be brilliant. Okay. So Billie Eilish, Birds of a Feather, Olivia Rodrigo and Sour, Lady Gaga, and this extraordinary feat of, of a career that is now looking like a seriously long and expansive career, and obviously in film as well as in music. Okay, so that kind of covers the point about how well solo women have been doing over the last few years, not just last year, not just in the UK, but kind of across the globe. It is a good time to be a solo woman. But I think there's another thing which really struck me when I kind of wanted to go back and examine it, when it just hit me that, was this a thing or have I got it wrong? And the other thing that I think is really noticeable when you look down at these lists, as we have been doing, and again, let's just look at the UK top list. One of the things that's really obvious is the total lack of groups, of a pop group or a rock band or any kind of group. And so I'm looking down the whole now of the top 40 of this official chart of the biggest songs of 2024. And as I said, we've got Noah Kahan, number 1, Benson Boone, number 2, Sabrina Carpenter, number 3, Teddy Swims, Hosier, Shabuzi, Billie Eilish, Chappell Roa, Dasher, Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift, Miles Smith, Casso, Beyonce, Sophie Ellis-Bextor, Tate McRae, Michael McCarthy, etc., etc. We have to go all the way down to 22 before we find an actual band, a rock band. And when we do, it's really interesting because at 22, it's Mr. Brightside by the Killers. Now, look, this is famous in its own right for being the song that never goes away. It just trundles along week after week, month after month, year after year. It's been in the charts for ridiculous kind of, whatever it is, 20 years. So Killers, Mr. Brightside, yeah, it's great to see a rock band in the top 40, but it's hardly new, is it? It's been around for literally forever. So that's the top kind of proper band, if you like. Where's the next one? Okay, well, the next band, I don't know, would you count Wham as a band? There are 2 of them. It's not a solo. So let's say they're a band, but It's Last Christmas by Wham. Okay, that is 40 years old. So it's not exactly, contemporary or changing, the trends of modern day pop music. It's just a bit of rather lovely Christmas nostalgia, isn't it? It's Wham. And that's at 30. Any more? Well, there's Ella Henderson featuring Rudimental. Does that count? I'm not sure it does. So you have to go all the way down to number 40 for the last one. And here again, we have got a rock band, if you call them that, soft rock band, I think we should say, Fleetwood Mac, with the track Everywhere, which is from Tango in the Night, which I think came out in 1986. So again, this is almost 40 years old. So what this says is the only rock bands or groups that appear in the top singles from last year are bloomin' ancient, and the tracks thereof are old. So we really have lost big hits from the bands, from the groups, and from anything which isn't really a solo star. So I think that is worth noting, and I wonder if we're just in a bit of a dip and it's all going to change and suddenly the groups will be back. But we're a long way from a time when you'd have had well, if you think back to Britpop, Oasis and Blur and Pulp and Suede and all those, they were proper rock bands, and we simply don't have anything like that equivalent now. I will leave you with that really strange thought, and we'll be back. I'll be back in a few days' time to talk to you about some more stuff from the fabulous world of pop music, and maybe even bring you a new track that I'm working on at the moment, and just give you a flavour of where I'm up to with things. And then lo and behold, there'll be some more music from me coming out very soon. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Thanks very much. Bye.